John Lusk here of Lusk Archery Adventures. Series testing, successful hunting. Today I'm testing another broadhead by Rek, R-E-K, Rek. And this is their Hxp squared, Hxp 2. So they've come out with basically the same broadhead, but a new blade deployment system. Rather than that other one that was a little challenging to do, especially in the field, this one is much more simple and straightforward. So I've heard rumors that they were going to be doing this, and I'm glad to see it finally in my hands, and I'm eager to test it. So I'm going to be testing it using my regimen for 2025. And for a detailed description of that, please check out the video I posted earlier this year called 2025 Broadhead Test Process. It'll explain it all to you. And I'm going to be using, for most of the shooting, my Elite Carbon Eon. And man, if you haven't checked out Elite bows lately, man, they're just doing some amazing things. I'm loving this bow. As well as for the flight testing, I'm using my Killer Instinct LogiX 435 crossbow. For all the shooting, I'm using Bishop Archery arrows and bolts. Let's zoom on in here, go through some of the design features and specifications, and then put this broadhead to the test. Here's a good look at this new head by Rek, the Hxp 2. And it's basically the Hxp that I've tested before, which is a really nice rear deploying mechanical two-blade broadhead. But this one is their new design because it has a different blade deployment system. Instead of being held in place by those clips, they used to have clips, these spring clips that you had to put in there in this area, and man, they were very secure, but they were a real pain to get in and out. It took a while to get used to them. Once you get used to them, it's not so bad, but man, it can be pretty finicky. So I love that they've come out with a new blade deployment system that doesn't have any bands, doesn't have any collars. It's really simple. It's just friction based. So the way it works is the broadhead penetrates a medium, pressure is put on these deployment arms, and then that opens the blades like that, and they slide back into their full cutting diameter. Okay, let me go through some of the materials, then I'll come back to this. First of all, the ferrule is a 70-75 aluminum, and like I always say, if you're going to use aluminum to save weight, 70-75 is the way to go because it's stronger than some steels. And then it's got a 4/16 stainless steel chisel tip, and man, I love this oversized, massive chisel tip that's just going to open up a nice hole for the arrow shaft to glide through, and it will aid in penetration in that regard and in durability to just split bone or split about anything else that it hits. And then in terms of blades, the blades are stainless steel as well. They're 0.039 inches thick, so nice thickness to the blades. The cutting diameter, as when they're fully open like that, is 2.25 inches. And you'll notice that they have a real swept angle to them as well. It doesn't really look like 2.25 inches because they're so swept. Some others come straight out and it makes them look wider, but they don't penetrate as well because of that. So I like the initial angle here, and then it takes an even greater angle back there just to aid in penetration. Now when they open, they can open so fast that they get a slap cut to them, which, you know, they'll slap forward and you get a little bit more than that, like a cut like that. You'll slap it, you get a little bit more than the 2¼ inch cut. Sometimes it's about 3 inches, and I've seen that happen in the field as well as in my testing. It can really open a pretty nice hole before it goes back to its 2¼ inch cutting diameter. The closure system is rated with the crossbow to 450 feet per second. So that's good to know if you're shooting a crossbow. They're all made in the USA, and the price comes out to, in a 3-pack, it comes out to $20 per head. But you can use my discount code LUSK10 and save 10% on that. For resharpening, I would use a Stay Sharp guide called The Answer. It's their catch-all sharpener and really works well with a lot of different broadheads like the Rek here. So really look forward to putting this head to the test and seeing how it performs. The Rek got the 10 ring. It only took 131 grams of force to cut through the wire, which is a 10 on a 10-point scale, plus a proportional bonus of 0.69 points for being under the threshold of 200. It penetrated right at 6.5 inches. Sorry, I cut it off in the frame there. And the blades fully opened on impact, reaching their full cutting diameter, and they remained open throughout the entire penetration into the medium. It took an additional 60 grams of force to cut through the wire, which is an 8.8 on a 10-point scale. It penetrated through 44 layers, which is a 6.29 on a 10-point scale. It's in near perfect condition after the 3 shots through the MDF. The only damage is where the blades slap forward after the impact. You can see just a tiny little dent in the blades, but other than that, you can't even tell it's been shot. Here it is after the 2 shots through the steel plate. The first shot, it held together very well. And then on the second shot, it lost 1 blade, and you could see it fly off. It was kind of cool in the video. But then the other blade broke partially off, but it was still intact. It just folded up inside the ferrule in this image. And you could see the holes there. The blades opened about halfway as they were restricted going through the steel plate. Here's the Rek after all the durability testing. It did very well through the MDF. Through the steel plate, lost 1 blade, and then had the other blade almost get lost there. And then into the cinder block, man, that steel tip is really impressive. There's like no signs of wear on the tip, but and it stuck deeply into the cinder block, but the ferrule got bent, as you can see there. So, I've tested the other Reks, and they've always held up well through the steel plate and through the cinder block. So maybe this was just a bad one, or maybe it just hit like an extra hard place in that cinder block or something like that. But overall, I'd say it's pretty average durability for a mechanical, at least this specific model on this specific day. So what'd you think? And there's a lot I really like about it. I love the simplicity of the design compared to those clips that you had to use before. I don't know if that's what contributed to it, but it wasn't quite as durable. The blades weren't as the previous models, and it could be because of that, or it could just be a fluke kind of a thing. But that was the only drawback. But man, the lethality of it, the overall function of it. I mean, I love that oversized tip, and man, I've used the previous model in the field very successfully on hunts. So a lot of upside to it. But you check out the score sheet and see how it performed in the areas that matter to you the most, and see if it might be a good fit for you. And stay tuned for the overall cumulative score, as well as the corresponding LogiX grade. And also stay tuned for a list of all the discount codes that I can offer, like Rek. You could save 10% by using the discount code LogiX10, and there's others on there as well, but those are just designed to save you some money. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Look forward to seeing you next time.